Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're plunging into a world that's just overflowing with magic, intricate mysteries, and, a whole lot of dragons.
Definitely dragons.
Our sources for this deep dive are looking at a really comprehensive, sort of in-depth look at the top 10 fantasy books of 2023.
A fantastic list, actually.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Now, if you're like us, you're always looking to get that knowledge quickly, but also thoroughly, right? You want those aha moments without getting totally bogged down.
Exactly. Cut through the noise.
And that's precisely what we aim to do here, our mission today, to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights from this list, really helping you understand the big trends, the cultural shifts, and the standout books that genuinely defined fantasy last year.
It was quite a year.
It really was. So get ready to discover some incredible stories and the forces that really pushed them into the spotlight. Okay, let's unpack this.
What's truly fascinating here, and you really see this emphasized in our source material right from the start, is just how pivotal 2023 actually was for fantasy.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, it's not really an exaggeration to say it was the year fantasy just exploded into the mainstream consciousness. I mean, in ways we haven't quite seen before.
Right, not just steady sales, but like a moment.
Exactly. A phenomenon, a genuine cultural moment. The genre really broke out beyond its usual readership, capturing a much, much wider imagination. And what's cool is it wasn't just one type of fantasy dominating.
Okay.
Instead, we saw this really unique, vibrant mix of elements gaining huge traction. Some had been sort of simmering, but they really found their moment in 2023.
Like what kind of elements are we talking about?
Well, dragons, obviously. Powerful soaring dragons were huge. But also those exquisitely dangerous fae courts.
Ah, yes. The beautiful cruelty.
That's the phrase the source uses, yeah. That mix of allure and real peril. Readers just couldn't get enough. Then you had those incredibly compelling, morally gray love interests.
Always popular.
Oh, yeah. Characters who aren't simply good or evil. Right. They force you to grapple with their complex motives and often, let's face it, their undeniable charm.
True.
We also saw a lot of high-stakes magical tournaments, which added that thrilling competition layer. And even delightfully quirky sentient castles.
Sentient castles. Okay, that sounds fun.
Yeah, the source playfully said they felt more alive than some real places. And maybe most importantly for a lot of readers, those amazing romantic slow burns.
Oh, the slow burns.
Yeah.
Where every word counts.
Exactly. The kind that had people highlighting entire conversations because, like the source pointed out, every word mattered. It was that level of investment.
It really is true. I remember so many conversations just blowing up online around those specific things last year. Felt like a collective obsession almost.
Absolutely. And, beyond just the popular tropes, our source points to something even deeper that really cemented 2023's legacy.
Which was
the profound emotional resonance. Fantasy in 2023 offered so much more than just simple escapism. It provided this remarkable depth, a kind of catharsis, and honestly, for many, even a form of healing.
Interesting. Healing how?
Well, these were stories told on an epic scale, but they powerfully reminded us that, individual choices matter, that love can literally move mountains, sometimes quite literally in these worlds, and that even in the absolute darkest situations, hope can be the most powerful magic of all.
Wow, that's powerful stuff.
It really is. This deep emotional core, this connection to the human experience, that's what really set 2023 apart for fantasy, I think. It wasn't just reading fun adventures. It was about engaging with stories that touched people deeply, offering reflection and maybe even strength in a complex world.
That's a perfect way to put it, and it leads us right into our first section.
Yeah.
We want to delve into the very pulse of 2023 fantasy, looking at those big trends and the cultural impact that pushed the genre forward. So we've talked about what defined the year. Let's dig into the why. What exactly made 2023 such a breakthrough year for fantasy?
Yeah.
For me, the first thing that just jumps out, you can't ignore it in our sources, is the huge transformative influence of platforms like BookTok.
Oh, absolutely undeniable.
And for anyone maybe not familiar, BookTok is TikTok's massive book community. It's this incredibly vibrant digital space where readers share recommendations, reactions, trends. It's huge.
It's a powerhouse.
It really is. It's amazing how this platform specifically just supercharged certain tropes and brought fantasy to a much, much broader audience than maybe ever before. It's like a new kind of word of mouth, right? But amplified by algorithms.
Totally. Democratized recommendations on a massive scale.
Exactly. And I want you, as you're listening, to maybe think about how these online communities with their viral moments, their intense discussions, their direct impact on what gets published, how they're really shaping and accelerating reading trends. It's this fascinating interplay, isn't it, between readers and the industry?
It absolutely is. And when you look at the specific tropes that really took off on BookTok, like our source breaks down, you see a really clear pattern.
Okay.
It wasn't just any fantasy catching fire. It was a pretty particular flavor. You know, those soaring, majestic dragons, always a winner, symbolizing power, partnership. Then the intricate fae courts, specifically with that beautiful cruelty.
That phrase again, what does that really mean in practice?
Well, it's that mix, right? Seductive allure, beauty, but underscored by genuine danger, unpredictable rules, maybe a hint of malice. It makes them incredibly compelling, not just pretty elves.
Gotcha. Alluring but deadly.
Precisely. Then, the morally gray characters. They challenge our ideas of heroes and villains, blur those lines, make us question our own judgments. Very popular.
Always keeps you guessing.
Exactly. High-stakes magical tournaments, pure adrenaline, action, tension, where survival is constantly on the line. And even those intriguing, sentient castles, adding mystery and personality to the setting itself.
Makes the world feel more alive.
Totally. And of course, we have to talk about the romantic slow burns. These aren't just about the romance itself.
You know, it's the build-up, right?
It's the build-up. That's the magic. It offers this unique narrative satisfaction, a really rewarding payoff. The gradual accumulation of emotional tension, romantic tension, that delicious anticipation when two characters, maybe enemies at first, finally give in.
The payoff moment.
Yes, and that format allows for so much deeper character development, exploring complex emotional arcs, and building a more profound, earned connection for you, the reader. It's truly about the journey, the push and pull, making the final resolution feel incredibly impactful.
That slow burn, yeah, like the source says, it builds such a unique investment. Makes the payoff feel so satisfying when it hits.
Precisely. And this plugs right into that broader cultural craving the source highlights. In a world that feels, let's be honest, chaotic and uncertain a lot of the time.
Understatement of the year.
Right. Readers aren't just looking for a simple escape hatch. They're actively seeking stories that hit them emotionally, offer real depth, and yeah, maybe even provide a sense of healing.
So fantasy stepped up.
Fantasy in 2023 really delivered on that. It kept reminding us that individual choices matter, that love can literally move mountains, a powerful symbol for connection, and that even when things look bleakest, hope can be the most powerful magic of all. And that goes way beyond just escapism, you see. It's about deep emotional engagement, finding echoes of our own struggles, our triumphs, reflected in these fantastical settings. Readers weren't just passive consumers. They were feeling, connecting, processing through these stories.
So it became almost therapeutic for some.
I think for many, yes, an active, engaging experience. It showed that these big, epic narratives offer something vital, maybe comfort, maybe inspiration, in turbulent times.
It's like fantasy provides this amazing framework to explore real complexities, real human desires, but through a magical lens. Gives you comfort and a fresh perspective.
Well said.
And with that, let's dive right into the heart of it. The top 10 itself. We're counting down from number 10, giving you specific examples that really show these trends and stand out as the best of 2023. Get ready to possibly expand your to-be-read pile quite a bit.
Oh, definitely. Prepare your bookshelves.
That's to be read for anyone new to the bookish lingo, by the way.
And as we go through this list, what's really striking, and our source mentions this again and again, is the sheer diversity of the stories here.
Yeah, it's not all one thing.
Not at all. It's far from a monoculture. It's this vibrant tapestry woven from different subgenres, different styles, tons of different influences. That broad appeal we talked about, it's perfectly reflected right here in the variety of these top books. Shows the genre's incredible flexibility.
Okay, kicking us off at number 10 is The Water Outlaws by S.L. Huang. Now, I have to admit, this one completely hooked me, and kind of unexpectedly. The source calls it a reimagining of the classic Chinese novel Water Margin.
Right, which immediately signals something unique.
Exactly. It follows Lin Chong, who goes from being this respected soldier to an outlaw leader after she's unjustly exiled. She ends up joining this diverse band of outlaws fighting corruption from the shadows. The premise alone sounds pretty compelling.
It is a classic tale of rebellion and finding your place.
So how does Huang take that classic story and make it feel so, well, fresh and relevant for today?
Well, what's truly fascinating here, and I think brilliantly done, is the way S.L. Huang fuses different elements together. It's this remarkable blend of martial arts fantasy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, where the combat isn't just physical blows, it's imbued with subtle power. Then there's complex political intrigue, lots of twists, shifting allegiances, keeps you guessing, and a really masterful use of non-Western mythology, drawing from rich Chinese lore that feels both ancient and immediate.
So it feels grounded, even with the mythology.
Very much so. The source notes how Huang takes these legendary characters and makes them feel so immediate and real. She does that by grounding their epic struggles in very human problems, relatable motivations, even in this fantastical setting.
And the magic. Is it flashy?
Actually, no. It's described as subtle but powerful, often woven into the martial arts or connected deeply to the natural world.
Okay, like what?
So instead of big fireballs, you might see someone subtly manipulate wind to enhance a strike or draw power from the earth to withstand a blow. It feels organic, like an extension of them and their environment, not just some external force.
Like that subtle magic.
Yeah, it works really well. And another huge highlight is the found family dynamics. The source calls them absolutely gorgeous.
Found family, always a winner.
It really is here.
Yeah.
Watching these outcasts, these misfits come together and form something stronger than any of them could be alone. It gives this profound sense of strength, belonging. It really hammers home that theme of chosen bonds, how people forge their own support systems against adversity. Family isn't always blood, you know?
Absolutely. That's incredibly resonant.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to number 9, we've got Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This one, for me, just screams pure, cozy fantasy perfection.
It definitely has that vibe.
Our source introduces Emily as this wonderfully prickly academic, totally dedicated to studying fairies.
Yeah.
And she gets tangled up with her insufferable colleague, Wendell, who is definitely not what he seems.
Intrigue.
Right. And the description that just grabs you is that reading it feels like wrapping yourself in the softest blanket while sitting by a crackling fire. So what makes it so cozy, but with that hint of something more?
Well, a huge part of the appeal is that lovingly rendered academic setting. You can almost, like the source says, smell the old books and feel the bite of the winter air. It creates this incredibly immersive, comfortable atmosphere right away.
Sets the scene perfectly.
Yeah. And Emily herself is great, brilliant, but delightfully awkward socially. Watching her try to navigate tricky fairy politics and her growing feelings for Wendell, it creates this really fun, nuanced dynamic.
And it's rivals to lovers, right?
Yes, that specific academic rivals to lovers trope is done with such finesse. You get the intellectual sparring and that wonderful slow burn tension. It feels earned, authentic.
But it's not just cozy, you said.
Right. What really makes it shine and elevates it beyond just simple coziness is how Fawcett refreshes traditional fairy folklore. Her fays are properly otherworldly, alien, and alluring, and absolutely not safe.
Ah, okay. So not Tinkerbell.
Definitely not Tinkerbell. This is key. They aren't just mischievous sprites. They operate by a different, often unsettling logic. Their beauty might be predatory, their gifts have hidden costs, their allure is laced with real danger.
That makes them more interesting, actually.
Exactly. It makes them even more compelling because they keep their mystery and inherent peril. It avoids cliches, but they're still recognizably fey. The source compared it to hot chocolate with a hint of something mysterious.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, it perfectly captures that blend. Comfort, but with just enough edge to keep you on your toes. It's not too cozy, it's perfectly balanced.
That sounds absolutely captivating. Okay, shifting gears from cozy to decidedly dark. At number 8, we have The Foxglove King by Hannah Whitten. Billed as dark fantasy at its absolute finest.
And it really delivers on that promise.
It introduces Lore, who has this unsettling rare power. She can commune with the dead, which you can imagine makes her incredibly valuable to some, incredibly dangerous to others.
A double-edged sword, for sure.
Totally. She gets recruited as a spy for a decadent royal court, a setting that just screams hidden dangers and moral decay. Tell us more about the atmosphere and the magic here.
Hannah Whitten just has this incredible gift for atmospheric world building,
Okay.
and it's fully on display in The Foxglove King. The court, the Aurelian court, it feels like it's rotting from the inside out, all beautiful facades hiding corruption and cruelty.
Ooh, creepy. Beautiful decay.
Exactly. It's not just physical decay, it's moral. The glittering surface hides dark secrets, hidden agendas, insidious violence. It sets this immediate tone, and the necromancy magic system is described as fascinating and unsettling.
Oh, so.
Well, it's both feared and necessary in this world. It gives power over life and death, but it comes with a cost you don't understand until it's too late.
What kind of cost?
Yeah.
Not just mana points.
No, not just mana points. It's more like a creeping decay, a subtle loss of self, maybe physical, maybe emotional. Every use is like a Faustian bargain, not just a tool. Adds this layer of dread and consequence.
Wow, okay. That's heavy.
It is. But for many readers, the real hook is the emotional complexity of the relationships, especially the love triangle.
Ah, the dreaded love triangle. Does it work?
The source argues it actually works brilliantly here, because it's not just about who Lore might end up with romantically. It represents different paths Lore could take, different versions of herself she could become.
Interesting. So different futures.
Yeah. Gabriel offers safety and acceptance, a chance to be seen without judgment. Bastion, on the other hand, offers power and understanding of her abilities, but with maybe darker strings attached. And Lore herself is grappling with her identity, right? Trying to figure out who she is when everyone seems to want to use her for what she can do.
Right. Uses her power, not her.
Exactly. So that depth transforms the love triangle into this really profound exploration of self, destiny, the hard choices that define us, makes the relationships just as compelling as the dark magic.
Absolutely, yeah. Elevates the trope beyond just romance into a real character study. And that leads us perfectly into our next section. The stakes get even higher. We delve into more epic journeys, more profound connections. We're really building momentum now as we get closer to the top of this incredible list.
Indeed. We've seen such a fantastic range already. Historical, reimagining, cozy academic fae, dark courtly intrigue. The next set of books just continues to expand on the sheer scope and variety of fantasy in 2023. Prepare for more varied, immersive, and, often emotionally intense rides.
Coming in hot at number 7 is The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon. And the description for this one is just electric. Absolutely electric, enemies to lovers.
Always a fan favorite.
Right. It features Taliesin, who wields powerful light magic, and Lyric, commanding shadow magic. Naturally, they're on opposite sides of a devastating war, and their chemistry. The source says you can practically see the sparks flying off the page.
That's some strong praise.
It really is. Clearly more than just sparks.
Yeah.
So what makes their dynamic and this whole world so captivating?
Well, the magic system itself in Hurricane Wars is described as absolutely gorgeous and really imaginative. The way light and shadow interact, it's not just opposites clashing, it's about their connection, how they're tied to emotion and will, and how they can both create and destroy in equal measure.
So the magic feels dynamic.
Incredibly dynamic.
Yeah.
Thea Guanzon's action sequences are described as feeling like watching the most beautiful, deadly dance you've ever seen. Speaks to the visual, kinetic quality of the magic and fights.
Wow. But it's not just about the magic and romance.
No, and that's what's really impressive. The balance she strikes between that intense, captivating romance and the larger political conflict is key. This isn't solely a love story. It dives deep into heavy themes like colonization, resistance, and that agonizing choice characters face, heart versus duty.
That classic conflict.
Exactly. Will they betray their people for love, sacrifice love for their homeland? These dilemmas add huge depth, moral complexity, and the world building is called rich and complex. Multiple kingdoms, each with distinct cultures, histories, grievances. It feels lived in, immersive, makes the stakes feel truly global.
And the spicy sweet rating, what's the verdict?
The source describes it as like lightning in a bottle, beautiful, dangerous, and absolutely impossible to ignore. Perfectly captures that intense, unpredictable, powerful dynamic between Taliesin and Alaric. Their relationship is as volatile and compelling as the war itself.
Okay, lightning in a bottle. Got it. At number 6, we find Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This one is presented immediately as pure joy from beginning to end.
Which is maybe surprising for Sanderson fans used to epic struggle.
Right. It follows Tress on this incredible adventure to rescue her friend Charlie from pirates, crossing seas made of magical spores that react in fascinating and dangerous ways. That spore sea concept alone sounds incredibly creative.
It really is classic Sanderson ingenuity.
So how does Sanderson, the master of epic, intricate fantasy, deliver a story that's described as pure joy?
Well, Brandon Sanderson writing a fairy tale, as the source says, was something many didn't know they needed, but it works so perfectly. The narrative voice is really whimsical and charming, almost like reading a classic storybook aloud.
But still with his complex worlds.
Amazingly, yes. He maintains his signature, intricate, clever world building. He doesn't dumb it down for the whimsy. He just wraps it in this more accessible, enchanting package. The magic system with those different colored spores making up the seas, absolutely brilliant.
How do the spores work?
Each sea, each color, has its own unique properties and dangers. Like, one sea might instantly harden anything that touches it, another dissolves things, maybe one creates beautiful but hallucinogenic fogs. A big part of the fun is watching Tress figure out how to use them creatively, adapting with wit and ingenuity. The source says it's so satisfying for the reader.
Clever protagonist using the environment. Love that.
Exactly. But what truly sets Tress apart, what makes her heroism so impactful, is Tress herself. She's not a chosen one or a warrior or someone with mysterious powers in the usual way.
Okay, so what drives her?
She's just a young woman, seemingly ordinary, driven by something simple but incredibly powerful. She loves her friend and is determined to save him. Her heroism comes from her kindness, intelligence, and sheer stubborn determination, not brute strength or destiny.
That makes her feel very relatable.
Totally. It makes her heroism feel achievable and inspiring. It's a refreshing take, highlighting cleverness, empathy, quiet courage over traditional might. Shows anyone can be a hero.
That's a wonderful message. Okay, number 5 brings us to A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. This is the big prequel to The Priory of the Orange Tree, highly anticipated and described as epic in every sense of the word.
Understatement, maybe?
Right. We're talking multiple continents, multiple POVs, points of view, tracking different characters, dragons, political intrigue, and a scope that will absolutely take your breath away. The promise. It'll make you cancel plans just to finish it.
That's the sign of a truly immersive read.
Definitely. So how does Shannon manage to weave such a huge tapestry without it feeling, overwhelming?
Samantha Shannon's world building is just, unmatched in fantasy right now, the source says. A true masterclass. The way she weaves together different cultures, religions, political systems feels so organic and lived in. It's not just exposition dumped on you. It's part of every interaction, every landscape description.
So each place feels distinct.
Absolutely. Each kingdom has its own distinct voice and customs. From the proud dragon riders in the east to maybe more insular matriarchal societies in the west. Yet they all convincingly belong to the same vast, interconnected world. Incredible coherence despite the scale.
And the dragons. Obviously, dragons are key here.
Oh, the dragons. For any dragon lover, this is heaven. The source highlights the intricate relationship between dragons and their riders, the different types of dragons, fire, ice, stone breathers maybe, and how they're woven into the very fabric of society.
Not just war machines, then.
Not at all. They're deities, companions, sometimes family. The flying sequences are described as absolutely cinematic, painting these vivid pictures of aerial combat, epic journeys. And the emotional bonds between dragons and humans are beautifully rendered, adding real depth, sometimes real heartbreak.
Sounds incredible. And emotionally powerful overall.
Hugely. The way all the different storylines come together is masterful, creating this grand, sweeping narrative. Characters make significant, often gut-wrenching sacrifices. The story is packed with both hope and heartbreak. It's truly fantasy at its most emotionally powerful, showing how these vast epics can still hit you with really intimate, profound emotional moments.
All right, deep breaths, everyone. We are rounding the corner into the final section of our list, teasing the top contenders. These last few books really pushed boundaries or achieved just absolutely massive success, kind of setting the tone for what's next and captivating millions.
Yeah, prepare yourself. The unique elements and the sheer cultural weight of these remaining books are really something, each in their own way.
Coming in at number 4, we have Witch King by Martha Wells. And this book immediately reminded our source why Martha Wells is just one of the most talented fantasy writers working today.
High praise and deserved.
It centers on Kai, who is a demon who's been bound to help mortals. And the story is told uniquely through 2 timelines that slowly reveal this incredible conspiracy spanning centuries.
Ooh, dual timelines. Always intriguing.
Right. Unraveling a mystery across huge stretches of time, that slow burn of revelations. What makes the magic system and the emotional core here so compelling?
Well, the magic system in Witch King is described as so unique and well thought out. Classic Wells. It really explores the way demons and their hosts work together, the symbiotic, sometimes tricky relationships where consciousnesses might blend or powers are shared.
Complex stuff.
Yeah, and it delves into the politics between different types of magical beings, demons, witches, humans, and the ancient history that shapes everything. past wars, forgotten treaties, old grudges influencing the present. It manages to be complex without being confusing and mysterious without being frustrating.
Yeah,
That's a tough balance.
definitely. Allows the reader to piece it together.
Exactly. But as the source points out, what really shines is the emotional core of the story, especially the relationship between Kai and Zide. It's profound, deeply moving. It's forged through trauma and strengthened by time, creating this bond that's called absolutely beautiful in its resilience, its quiet devotion. And while this isn't primarily a romance in the typical sense,
Okay.
the connections between the characters, especially Kai and Zide, have such depth and meaning. Martha Wells is just lauded for writing relationships that feel real and lived in, full of history and understanding and genuine love, even when it's not romantic love. Shows the power of enduring bonds built on shared experience, respect, loyalty. A masterclass in connection.
That sounds incredibly rich, focusing on those deep nuances. Okay, next up at number 3 is The Saint of Bright Doors by Vajra Chandrasekhara. This book gets called out as unlike anything else you'll read this year.
Bold claim, but
Right.
probably accurate.
Right. It focuses on Feder, who was supposed to be a messianic figure, but he rejected that destiny.
Yeah.
Now he's navigating this surreal, impossible city, dealing with the fallout of refusing to be what everyone expected. Sounds incredibly philosophical, kind of boundary-pushing for fantasy.
It absolutely is. Strange, beautiful, brilliant. That's how the source describes it. An experience that really sticks with you.
So how does the world building create that unique feeling?
The dreamlike world building is a huge part of it, unlike almost anything else out there. The city itself exists in multiple realities at once.
Whoa. What does that look like?
Architecture might shift, streets might lead different places each day, the fabric of reality might ripple, doors that lead to nowhere and everywhere, maybe opening onto a wall one minute, a market across the world the next, maybe even metaphysical spaces. Its politics shift like smoke. Power structures are fluid, alliances constantly changing, nothing's solid.
Sounds disorienting but fascinating.
Exactly. It's famously described as reading like a fever dream in the most incredible way. It immerses you in this world that defies logic but just enthralls you with its sheer imagination.
And the themes resonate deeply.
Absolutely. Profound themes of destiny, choice, and identity. It forces you to ask, what happens when you refuse to be the person everyone needs you to be? What's the cost of choosing your own path? That exploration of self-determination, the burden of expectation, it's incredibly powerful.
And the writing itself.
The prose is called gorgeous and literary without being pretentious. It feels like poetry disguised as a novel, evocative, lyrical language that elevates the story without becoming inaccessible. It really contributes to the book's success in challenging what fantasy can be and do, pushing the genre into more experimental philosophical territory.
That sounds like a true original. Okay, coming in at number 2. Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, the massive sequel to Fourth Wing.
The pressure was immense on this one.
Totally. Our source acknowledges that immense pressure, but says it managed to exceed every impossible expectation. It continues, Violet and Zidane's evolving relationship introduces new threats, deeper magic. Readers were apparently highlighting entire pages of relationship development.
They really were invested.
Clearly. So how did this sequel not just live up to the hype, but actually amplify the strengths of the first book in this huge romantasy wave?
Well, considering the phenomenon Fourth Wing became, Yarros absolutely delivered. The source highlights how everything that worked in the first book is amplified here.
Like what specifically?
More complex dragon bonds, the mental, emotional connections deepen significantly, exploring shared vulnerabilities, greater tactical complexities in battle, also deeper political intrigue, new factions, moral ambiguities, big revelations about the war add layers.
And Violet's development.
Her character arc continues to be absolutely stunning. Her growth into a leader, her increasing self-acceptance, her strategic mind sharpening. She moves beyond just survival mode.
And the central relationship, Violet and Zagnan.
This is key, and a big draw. They move beyond just being passionate lovers. They become true partners who trust each other completely, who make decisions together, who fight for each other and with each other. Crucially, their communication improves, which addresses a common critique of fast-paced romance sometimes. Their understanding deepens. Their love becomes this steady, powerful force. It shows a mature, realistic progression amidst chaos.
That's great to hear, actual relationship growth.
Exactly. As for its spicy sweet rating, described as, like, dragonfire intense, consuming, and impossible to forget, captures the passion, the heat, but also the unforgettable impact of their deepening bond, which still burns hot, but now has this profound layer of trust.
Dragonfire. Intense. Got it. And finally, the undisputed #1 fantasy book of 2023, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros.
The book that launched 1,000 ships for dragons.
Huh. Pretty much. Our source states unequivocally, this book didn't just dominate the year, it changed the entire landscape of fantasy publishing. It follows Violet Soaringale, who should be a scribe, gets forced into a brutal war college, learns to ride dragons alongside Zed-En Rierson, who starts off wanting her dead, but maybe also wants to kiss her.
The classic setup, executed perfectly.
That enemies to lovers dynamic plus dragons clearly set the stage. But why did this book specifically become such an unparalleled phenomenon?
The impact really can't be overstated. Our source breaks down why it hits so hard. It's perfect enemies to lovers trope, done with such incredible tension, undeniable chemistry, the magical and meaningful dragon bonds, not just cool plot devices, but felt deeply emotional, symbiotic, and Violet's journey from survival to strength. This seemingly fragile protagonist, underestimated by everyone, finding immense inner power, that resonated hugely.
So the core elements were just perfectly tuned.
Perfectly tuned, yes. But beyond that, Fourth Wing proved something critical, something undeniable to the industry. There was a massive hunger for fantasy romance that the publishing industry hadn't been fully serving.
Ah, so it tapped into unmet demand.
Exactly. For years, traditional publishing often kept high fantasy and explicit, character-driven romance somewhat separate, maybe underestimated the overlap. Fourth Wing showed unequivocally readers were craving complex characters, meaningful relationships, and fantasy worlds that feel real and immersive, all in one fast-paced, high-stakes package.
It wasn't just a book, it was a moment.
A bona fide cultural moment. The source gives examples, people calling in sick to finish it, literally camping outside bookstores for the sequel, immediately buying copies for all their friends. It wasn't just a personal read, it became a shared experience.
Wow.
It's described as the book that's going to define this era of fantasy romance.
Wow.
Solidified its place as a genre-defining phenomenon, reshaped market expectations, reader demand, everything.
What an incredible year for fantasy indeed. We've really covered such a huge range of stories today, haven't we?
We really have.
From the martial arts historical reimagining of the Water Outlaws to the cozy academic world of Emily Wilde, the truly epic Dragon Wars in Shannon Yaros's books, the experimental literary feel of the Saint of Bright Doors, and the addictive romantasy that just exploded with Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
It's been a journey through different cultures, unique magic, vast emotional landscapes.
If we, connect this to the bigger picture, what fantasy offered us in 2023 was really profound and just so resonant with the times, I think.
Yeah.
It gave us catharsis when we needed it most, emotional release through big stories. It offered adventure when real life felt too small, letting us escape into thrilling quests. It presented beauty when the world felt gray, vibrant worlds, powerful connections. And even heartbreak that somehow made us feel more alive, reminding us of the depth of feeling.
So it wasn't just escapism.
No, the synthesis here is clear. Fantasy, at its best, doesn't just transport us to other worlds, it helps us understand our own world better. And it seems obvious readers are craving more of everything fantasy delivered this past year.
More depth, more emotion.
Yeah, more depth, more emotional resonance, more magic that feels meaningful, more characters who grow and change and surprise us in believable, inspiring ways. And based on what the source hints at for the future, this is a powerful trend that's absolutely going to continue shaping the genre. The demand for these rich, immersive, emotionally resonant reads, it's only getting stronger.
What an incredible deep dive into the magical resurgence of 2023 fantasy. We came in aiming to pull out those key nuggets of knowledge and insight, and I really feel we've done that. Hopefully giving you a fantastic shortcut to being well-informed on this vibrant, dynamic topic.
Hopefully.
You've now got a pretty comprehensive overview of what defined the genre last year, the big books, the big trends. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, as you maybe continue your own journey through stories?
Well, this raises an important question, maybe something for you to consider. Which elements or tropes from 2023's fantasy surge really resonate most deeply with you personally?
Good question.
Is it the power of those found families, the complexity of morally gray characters, the unbreakable bonds with dragons, or maybe that comforting embrace of cozy academic settings? And then what might that resonance reveal about the kinds of stories we are collectively seeking right now? in these challenging, often uncertain times.
And how might these trends influence things going forward?
Exactly. How might these powerful, reader-driven trends influence the broader literary landscape in the years to come? Not just within fantasy, but maybe inspiring other genres too, something to mull over.
Definitely. A powerful thought to take with you as you perhaps revisit some of these incredible titles or seek out new ones. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Been a pleasure.
Until next time, happy reading, and may your next book be full of dragons, destiny, and just the right amount of danger.